All right, here's our mission. We're going to be modeling these flasks, all right? And it's going to be pretty easy to do, including the materials. Now, I should say that you can do much more complicated materials. I mean, it's not that complicated, but I mean, there's definitely science and physics involved with this. And I am no expert at that. And so for this video, and for the sake of just having fun for relative beginners like myself, we're going to do simple materials. All right, we're going to do simple glass. The liquid we're going to do just a little bit more. We're not striving for incredible realism here. That's actually not something that I'm overly interested in, because if you try to get into really realistic renders, you're going to be dealing with the realism of many aspects. And that's not something that I want to do at this point. I want to have a good time, all right? And I hope to eventually model some of this stuff in a sci-fi scene, maybe not even glass, maybe more like plastic. Something like Alien Isolation, where you go into a lab and there's a microscope and some of these vials and one's spilled over and there's some blood or something like that. Just fun stuff. But for now, we're going to model these flasks and then apply the materials, all right? So we'll keep that as a little reference. I'm going to model this one and this one, all right? And they're similar but slightly different. So what I'm going to do first of all, my screencast keys should be on, or they should have been on. All right, I guess they're turned off. There we go. So we're going to select everything, X, and we're going to delete everything. I'm going to switch over to Cycles Render and GPU Compute because of my video card. All right, I'm going to hit number 1 and 5, so we're looking front ortho view straight on, and we'll do that round flask first of all. Okay, so I'm going to go Shift A, and that's going to bring up the Add dialog box, and I'm going to choose Mesh, and I'm going to choose UV Sphere. And I'll bring it up a little bit just for the heck of it. I'm sure we'll be changing the position of that very soon. All right, 7 is top view, and let's go into Edit mode. And I'm going to select this top vertice, and I'm going to go X vertices and get rid of it. And that's going to get rid of the faces associated with that. Then I'm going to switch into edge selection, and I'm going to Shift and Alt and click that edge right there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into front view. We're going to hit E to extrude, and we're going to pull up. And then this is the question of making the neck as high as you want to. I'm not doing this to any particular specifications, so I'm going to come up to maybe there. And I think before I go any further with that, though, one thing I like to do is I like to grab this edge loop right here and pull it up as well. We're going to be rounding this, we might as well do that right now as best we can so it's not as sharp. With that edge loop selected, I'm going to go Control B to activate the bevel tool. I'm going to pull back with my mouse till I get a region, something like that, and then I'm going to roll my mouse wheel up 1, 2, 3, as many times as you really like, to add some curvature, and then I'm going to deselect everything. So now that's relatively curved. I might want to grab that edge loop and then just pull it up a little bit more. Let's see if that helps me in any way. Okay, before we hit the top, actually let's do the bottom. Let's go Control 7 for the bottom and switch over to vertex selection and grab this point right in the middle and back to front view. So I want to flatten this out a little bit, but I'm not just going to pull that one vertex up like that. I want to sort of flatten the whole area a little bit, and the way I'm going to do that is with that vertex selected, I'm going to come down here and turn on proportional editing, and I'm going to enable it. It's going to leave the default curve there. Then when I go to move in the Z direction, I'm just going to pull the arrow. I'll get a circle that describes or that shows or illustrates the circle of influence. So check this out. I'm going to pull, see that circle? And you can see this whole area moving. If I scroll my mouse wheel, I can make that bigger or smaller. So I'm just going to choose a size that I like, and I'm going to pull it up so it's a little bit flattened. Doesn't have to be too flat. I'm going to deselect, go back into object mode. I'm going to pull this back down towards the apparent ground. So I've done that, and that's good enough. All right, back up to the top now. Go into edit mode again, and vertex selection. Let's Shift Alt and click that edge, and we're going to widen it. We're going to make like the lip of the flask. So I'm going to hit E to extrude, turn this a bit so I can see. S to scale. Oh, let's not forget to turn off proportional editing. Do that all the time. S to scale, and I'm going to pull out a little bit like that. Okay, E to extrude, I'm going to pull it up a little bit. All right, keep in mind we're making the lip. You can make it as big as you want. All right, and then I'm going to hit E to extrude, and I'm going to scale it and come in a little ways like that. And let's deselect now, and that's good enough for the moment. Now, this is going to have a glass material on it. And right now, this material, although this looks solid, is actually, there's a big hole inside there. It's like paper thin, or however thin the polygons are. And that's not how thin glass is. And of course, the glass thickness can vary quite a bit. Just have a look at a window. So we need to put some thickness on this before we proceed. And the way we do that is come back into object mode, or one way we can do this anyhow. I'm going to scroll my mouse wheel so that this is more visible instead of having to pull that out all the time. I'm going to choose the wrench, modifier, solidify. We're going to make it solid. And up here you can choose the thickness. I'm going to go for 0.03. All right, and that's going to thicken this up so that the walls have some thickness to it. I'm just going to go ahead and hit apply, and then I'm going to come in here and just watch what I'm doing. All right, I'm going to get rid of some stuff. All right, so because we did this lip here, I'll show you here. This part of the flask continues up. All right, that part there continues up to this row of polys. That was the original row, and then we extrude it outwards. I'm going to put my mouse cursor right in the middle, on the line between two of these polys, and go Shift and Alt and click, and that'll get the whole row. I'm going to delete those X faces. I'm going to get rid of those faces, and I'm going to be pulling up. Let me select this for you. This was added when we added solidify. All right, we modeled the outside. It's put another layer in there to give it some thickness. I'm going to be pulling that up in a moment, and when I pull it up, I'm going to pull it up to this level, and then I'm going to join them. But when I do that, I'm going to have all of these polys on the inside, and I don't need them. So I'm going to select that row of polys, and I'm also going to delete those. There we go. Back into edge selection, and I'm going to Shift Alt and click that edge. Like I said, now I'm going to pull it up, all right? But in order to get it to the same level as this one right there, all right, I'm going to turn on this snapping icon, and I'm going to choose vertex. I like to switch over to vertex for this, and I'm going to pull it up, and it's snapped to this row of vertices. All right, so they're at the exact same height. And there's other ways to do that, but that's a good way of doing it. I'm now going to Shift Alt and click on that edge right there, and I want to join them together. Now, you might not know what I'm going to do or why I would do it, but just wait, you'll see, and you go, oh, of course. All right, I'm going to bridge them. All right, Control E, and I'm going to choose Bridge Edge Loops. There, I'm going to deselect, and I'll go back into object mode. And now you can see that it's like the tube comes up, and then there's this lip that goes out. Okay, let's save, and now we have some issues down here. Let's apply a subdivision surface of 2, perhaps 3, and smoothing. And this sometimes can be a little problematic. I could try selecting this edge, and if I just pull it up, it's going to change the curvature. But if I go GG, it should just slide along there. It may have changed the curvature anyhow a little bit. I think I like that a little bit better, so I'm going to save that. Let's just see how it looks. Okay, let's go back up to this lip, which is a little bit too smooth, and we want it a little bit more straight. So let's go Control R, put an edge loop, click, and drag up. And when it does that, don't forget to turn that off. These are all the things that we are forgetting. Let's see how that's done. See, that's sharpened that up a bit, but let's make that a bit more realistic. All right, let's put an edge loop, Control R down here. And by the way, before we get too carried away, let's also bevel these edges. I should have done that earlier. In fact, I can turn off the subdivision surface by clicking the eye so we can see better. This is a sharp edge here. So this one, and let's actually take this one and move it up just for now. Okay, I just Shift Alt and clicked on it. This edge and this edge, edge and this one. So I did Shift Alt and I just clicked on all of those. All of those are very sharp edges. Let's go Control B, pull back like this, make it look a little bit like a tire or donut. Roll your mouse wheel up a few times. I did 3 there. Let's come out, put the subdivision surface on and have a look at it now. That's looking better. And I don't think I'm actually going to do any more edge loops than that. It's possible I would look at this one though, underneath, and I might pull it up a little bit more. That's good enough for me. All right. So there's that that flask right there. Save that. Now let's move this to another layer. So I'm just selecting it, going M, and after I've hit M, wherever my mouse is, that's where this thing will show up. I'm just gonna click on another layer, and that will move it to that layer. So there it is. So I'm back to the first layer. I still have my 3D cursor right in the middle, and we're ready to go on the next one. Let's have a quick look at it and decide how best to model it. Okay, this is an Erlenmeyer flask, and it is rounded on the bottom like that, and it comes up. I'm thinking of a cylinder. I think I'm going to try for a cylinder, and then I'm going to, you know, scale it in or taper it in there, and then extrude up and do another lip-like thing. All right, so we'll have the bottom of the cylinder, and we'll bevel like crazy, or sort of like crazy. All right, now let's start. Shift A, mesh, cylinder. But before we do anything, let's just think about this. How many vertices do we want? How many can we get away with? Can we try? Want to try 18? We could try that, you know, because we're going to add a subdivision surface. Hopefully that's going to be enough. I'm going to hold Control and I'm going to grab the arrow and bring it up. It didn't snap like I wanted it to. That doesn't matter. Okay, let's go into edit mode and let's select this top face. Shift and select that face, and X. Delete those faces. Okay, let's do the bottom of this. Right. Let's just lift this up a little bit more. So what we're going to do is in edge selection, I'm going to Shift Alt and click that edge. We have to make the bottom before we can bevel. So you really want me to get rid of that. Let me get rid of the grid display, and we can see through it a little bit better. Okay, we still have our X and Y. All right, so here, let's do it this way. Control 7 is the bottom, and then I'll turn it a little bit. E to extrude, S to scale, come in a little ways. Give yourself enough room, because we're going to be beveling this edge, and it's going to cause a region to push out this way and down that way. So, you know, give yourself enough room to do that. E and S. Let's go E and S one more. E, and let's go Alt M, merge those points at the center. All right, so we're going to get this. Okay. All right, so now I'm hoping that was enough to do. I'm going to bevel. Control B, let's bevel this like that. Roll my mouse wheel up quite a bit. All right, so I beveled and I have some curvature there now. Let's come up to this. In fact, let's move it down again. This looks a little bit more realistic when it's closer to what seems to be the ground. All right, now again, I don't have any reference, which is silly. You always need reference, but I mean, in terms of how high I want this, I don't want to just trace somebody else's Erlenmeyer flask. I want to make my own. So I'm going to come up. That's okay. I'm going to come up to about there, and then I think I'm just going to hit scale. I'm going to bring it in. Maybe I'll scale it a bit more, and maybe I will bring it down. Yeah. E to extrude. I'm going to come up and do the neck part of it. And I think maybe I'll grab that, and I'll grab that. Maybe I will scale even more, and I can pull it down and do that kind of thing. Yeah, that's okay. I can always adjust. I'm going to adjust these later on as well. Okay. You know what? I'm thinking we need to scale a bit more and pull it down. There we go. Okay, so let's do a similar lip as we did before. E to extrude, S to scale, pull out. E to extrude, pull up. Like that. E, S, come in a ways, and get ready to make it a solid. Hopefully that's going to be an okay bottom. Yeah, I think so. Solidify. 0.03. and apply, and same deal here in face selection. Shift Alt, click that, those faces and those ones. We'll do them together this time. X faces. Grab this edge. I'm going to bring it up. Let's put on the snapping. Vertex. And there she goes. Select that edge. Control E. Bridge edge loops. And we've got it. Let's save. And let's see how she looks. Nice and smooth. 2. We can try 2. Okay, now we're going to come in here, and it's a little tight for beveling because I've got an edge loop here. Now let's turn that off for a moment. There we go. I guess I don't. Okay, let's do it. Sometimes you need to turn that off so you can see what you got. You got that, and you got that. This area is a bit tight, however, I will admit. And so what I can do is I should be able to grab that edge loop, because you see I want to bevel like this, right? There's my edge loop. I'm going to go Control B and pull down. See the blue area? I need that, right? Like to make that tire-like thing. I have a bit of a problem here because I want to bevel this edge. That's the inner sharp edge. As soon as I Control B and pull back, before you know it, I hit this line, this edge loop right there. So I'm thinking I could scale this out, you know, temporarily or for good if I need to. Let's see if that changes the looks of this. It does that. All right, might be okay though. Let's go back in. I'm going to try this. I'm going to back up if I need to. I'm just going to bevel this one, and let's have a peek at that. Oh, it should be okay. That's fine. All right, good. That was a good move then. Let's grab both of these, Shift and Alt and click both of those edges and Control B. Let's do a nice round bevel as well on that. It'll have to be the same. And put back the subdivision surface. That's what we wanted, but let's bring in one more edge loop down under here. Now, I'm going to go Control R, GG, and slide it up. And of course I have that on. Doesn't really matter anyhow. Turn that off, and I'm going to get this. And that's my flask. And if you really wanted to, you could go up another level in this, and you could also go up another level in the render. It's going to increase your poly count, but I don't think I'm going to care that much. And so I might do that for this one as well. Not sure in the render anyhow. All right, well, we've made those. Now, we're going to have to do the liquid inside. Let's do that in a minute. Let's do the rubber stopper first. And I'm thinking, I'll do it on this one here. Let's deselect that. I'm thinking, like, I'm just going to build it out of a cylinder, all right, and taper it, all right? But I'm thinking in order to get it positioned and the size and stuff, what if I was to Shift Alt and click, say, this edge loop? Now, I know this cylinder was 16 vertices, but it smooths pretty nice with the subdivision surface. What if I was to select that, hit the period key to zoom in and sort of focus on it? What if I said, okay, let's start with this and build from that, because it's in the right position and approximate size. What if I did Shift D to duplicate it, and then P, and by selection, enter, and then come into object mode, and make this thing here, this little line there, do origin to geometry. So the transform is right there. Make it a separate object and just build off that. If I did that, selected it, and said E to extrude, scale in a little ways, E to extrude, scale in, E to extrude, scale one more time, and then I'll just merge them. And then grab this edge, go E to extrude and bring it up. Now, I'm getting some discoloration, which means my polys are on the wrong side. They're on the inside, they're facing inwards instead of out, so I'm just going to select it all and Control N and flip them to the outside. Okay, so I'm going to get this. I do have a subdivision surface on already, which is fine. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to, let's, maybe we'll scale in a little bit. I'm building it upside down. Okay, let's scale out a little bit. We could try that. All right. Then I'm thinking, before I close it off, of E to extrude and going up a tiny bit more sort of straight, and then making the top. All right. I just feel like it needs to do that. E to extrude, S to scale in a little bit, E to extrude, S to scale, E, S, E, and merge at center. Let's have a look at that. Okay, I can just sharpen that up a little bit. I'll just Control R and I'll just drag down to there. Let's put on smoothing. Okay, take this and push it into here. We can always scale this too, and I don't mind scaling it in object mode, just like that. Could that be our rubber stopper? Is that okay? Is it sharp enough? No, come on, it's just a rubber stopper. It's good enough. Okay, and then I can take one of these. In fact, I'll do it right now. Shift D and move to the first layer. So that's going to be my flask anyhow there, that way. Let's take this and just move it along here. So I can grab this one and move it back to the first layer, and we look at both of them together and see what we want to do. Let's do this, and let's grab this. And we are getting quite high in the poly count, so it's debatable if we really need, well, we certainly don't need that many on the rubber stopper. I might want it on there, but I don't need that many on the rubber stopper. For the moment, I'll go down to there. Okay. All right. It's a space age kind of flask. Cool. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make the interior material. All right. And the way I'm going to do that is, let's see. That's the front there, right? Okay. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to move this way, forward a bit to there. And I'll grab this one and just move it back to there a little bit. So we got this kind of thing. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, and I'm going to go into edit mode and wireframe. And I like to do it in vertex. You could do it in face selection, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to box select an area like that. Say I want the liquid to be up to that area. So select it all, and then go Shift D and P to make it a new object. And go back into object mode and go back into solid. So I've got the flask there, and I've also got that. I've got a copy of it with the subdivision surface. I'm just going to hit S and hold Shift and scale until I don't see it anymore. Done, just like that. Now let's hide the bottle and see what we've got. We've got this, but we've got the 2 layers of it, all right? Because when we did the solidify, it put an inner layer, and then we bridge the edge loops at the top. So I'm just going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to I think I'll select that edge. Let's see if I go Control plus, if I can go all the way down to the bottom, and hopefully no further. All right, and I'm going to go X vertices, and I will get rid of that. Let me just select it all and try remove doubles. Didn't get anything. Control N. I should be okay. I should be okay. All right. So now we're going to close this off. So I'm going to Shift Alt and click on that edge. And I'm going to do what I always do: E and S. Otherwise, E and S, E and S. And you know what? Just merge them at the center. I mean, this doesn't have to look pretty. You can barely see it. Now, maybe I can get away with one subdivision, so we don't go up too high. We'll see. Let's go Alt H and bring it back, and it's inside there. We don't see it right now, but it's done. Okay, let's come over to this guy and do the same thing. Let's look at it, right on orthographic view in wireframe and in say face selection, and let's try this. Go up to there. I could do that. I could go for that. All right, Shift D, P to make a new selection. And now you could put an edge loop and drag it down to any position you want, and then select just up to there if you want a different, level of fluid in your cylinder. So let's take this one. All right, so I've got the flask, and if I just click somewhere else and I get something else, I know I got that. Just scale and hold Shift and pull in until you just barely don't see it anymore. Select the flask, hide it. I'm going to go X vertices, and that's done. Let's go ahead and close this off. I'm now thinking I might want to do some fixing. I'm just doing the typical scale. E. Let's go up to Merge Center. Let's close that out. Let's put the subdivision surface back on. We'll leave it at 1 for now, and I don't even need the rendering at 3 either. Something. Okay, cool. Well, we've done most of what we need to do in terms of the modeling, or perhaps all that we need to do. What we could do for the moment is just set up set up a ground plane for our image, and then we'll get into texturing these things. Okay, so let's go Shift A, Mesh, and add a plane, and let's go S10. Give ourselves lots and lots of room. We still may see the edge of that. Let's look at this out of side view, and that's, I guess, going to be okay. So we're going to put an image on this. We're also going to need a world environment. So let's split this screen. Pull down here, hit T to get rid of the side panel there. All right, let's turn this over to the node editor. Okay, and hit N to close that. So this is going to be the node editor. If I just go Shift Z, I don't see much because I don't have any lights. You can start to see what's going on there. So we need to get some light in there, and so what we could do is we can put in an environment texture, and that will give us some light from the world. And so let's do that. I'm going to switch over here to the world tab. All right, we want to use nodes, and that's going to put down some default nodes right there. So right now you can see the background is light gray. All right, if we look at this, right? So let's put in an image for that. So we're going to add a node. So click there or Shift A, add. It's going to be a texture. It's going to be an environment texture right there. We're going to connect that up, and as soon as you do that, you get this. So you can see, hey, well, there's some light, but it doesn't have any image associated with it. I'm going to click Open, and I'm going to add an HDR texture that I found on the internet. There's lots of these. You can use light ones and dark ones. I'm going to use this one, this tropical beach one. I've used it before, just to provide the light. As soon as I do that, you can see it creates more light. And if I hit 5 there, you can see the background, and you can see my things there a little bit. Anyhow, you can't see very much, but there's our environment texture in there, and that's fine. All right, I'm going to click on this Flask though and scroll here because we need to make a material. I'm going to move, and it's important, don't forget to do this, away from the world to this box, which means the object there, and there's no nodes, there's no material. So I'm going to click on this and click New Material. All right, you could have done that down here too. That's going to put a default material on this Flask now, and this is where we can start doing our materials. But you know what? I think maybe I might backtrack and instead select the plane. I can do that, by the way, in the rendered view. Anyways, I've got it selected, and let's do this one. All right, Shift Z. Okay. Let's do this one, and let's put an image texture on here. Shift A, image texture, and let's just bring this over to here for now. And you see, again, well, it's gone to a purplish color, wet texture. For this, I want to use a similar one as you saw here. All right, and I'm just going to put the straight image in. I'm not going to do the bump mapping and all of that, just the image. All right, to keep it simple. All right, and this is just an image that I found from the internet, if I can find it again. Okay, there it is, and I'm going to open that, and then I'm going to deal with getting it onto there exactly. You can already see it started to change color. So you can find any image that you like, usually the larger the better usually, and put it in for your background. You can even take a picture yourself if you want to. Okay, so what I'm going to need to do though is I'm going to switch this over to the UV editor, and I'm going to get out of rendered mode, and I'm going to go 7 and look down on this with the plane selected. I'm going to go into edit mode, and it's all selected, and I am going to hit U, and I'm going to just project from view bounds, and that's going to unwrap this. Well, it's just a plane. It's going to make a UV map the same size as this whole area here. All right, and I'm also going to open up the wood texture there, and now I'm coming back, and we are here. Let's go back into object mode, and let's go back into Shift Z mode, and we got our guys on the wood. All right, that kind of thing, and that's what we're going for. Save that. Cool. That's not exactly the shape that I thought I would do, but it's all right. I hope you don't mind that. I'm going to select this and the internal material and this. I hope I got everything, and I'm just going to move them. They don't need to be in line or anything, so I'm just do something like that. I'm just starting to think of where they're going to be for a picture. All right, that kind of thing. All right, cool. So it's going to be like that. Let's start working on the materials for this. Let's start with this guy. We're going to use just a simple glass, so I'm going to get rid of diffuse, and I'm going to go Shift A, shader, glass. I'm going to leave it as Beckman, white. All of this stuff I'm leaving the same, and it's going in the surface, and that is it for that. Okay, index of refraction is okay for what we want to do. So let's go ahead and name this glass, and then select the flask, glass. There we go. Cool. All right. Well, now we're going to do the liquids and the rubber stopper, and we'll get some light in there. Let's try the rubber stopper. Now, you know, it depends how crazy you want to get with this, how realistic you want to get with this. I'm going to click New, and we can call this stopper. We could just try using a diffuse and a glossy. Shift A, shader. We can start with that and see how it goes. Already it's black. Let's stop that for a second. I've got a diffuse and a glossy here, and I want to mix them together. All right, so I'm going to go Shift A and shader, and I'll come right up to the top, mix shader, like that. I'm going to drag this dot to this dot. I'm going to drag this dot to this dot. I'm going to drag this to this. Let's come back over here. Okay, so let's zoom in a little bit. It'd be helpful if I had some more lights. I'm going to change the color though. This is a rubber stopper, so I'm going to make this one quite dark, and this one is going to also be dark, but not quite that as dark as this one's going to be. All right, something like that. Now that's one way we could do this, and that would be okay. In fact, if I added a light in here, let's do this. Shift Z, Shift A, lamp. I'm going to add a Hemi. Like that. I'm going to deal with that later. Let's make it 3, and just bring it back and up. Let's just have a look at how it's starting to look. Okay, that might be fine for the rubber stopper. There's other things I could do, but let's try this. Let's select that piece and do stopper as well. Okay, so but they both have the stopper material. You know, I'd like to leave it at that. I have something else that I could do that would make this look maybe a little better, and we may do that. Okay, let's work on the liquid now. I'm going to select, I should go with that like that, and hide that. Let's work on this liquid right here. Let's click on New, and we are going to do the nodes for making this liquid look, you know, like this liquid. Okay, we're going to make this red liquid right here. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is with the following nodes. I'm going to get rid of that diffuse, delete, Shift A, and I'm going to bring in another shader, and I'm going to bring in actually another glass shader. And I'm going to switch this to 1.3 because what we're going for is this. All right, this is my node setup for this, and I'm not the only one doing it like this. So you can take a screenshot if you want, or pause it, write it down, or just do it in your scene, and then you'll have it. I'm even going to use a glass shader here, and then a mix. And the mix is going to mix together these colors, or red colors, depending on what color I want my liquid. It's going to mix them together, and this thing, this layer weight, is going to determine, first of all, how they blend together based on whether the light is hitting it directly or indirectly, something along those lines. All right, so give it a try and change some values and see how it affects what you want. So I'm going to make this for this flask. I want red in there if we want it to look like, you know, the diagram or the image there. All right, so I'm going to make this a light red and a dark red. All right, so let's do that. Okay, but I got to add that node. And by the way, you can go Control Up arrow, and that will make this full screen. So Shift A. Now, this is not that mix shader. It's under color because you're mixing two colors together, mixing RGB. I'm going to make this one sort of a light red, or whatever that is. And this one I'm going to bring way down here, and I'm going to darken it up. I'm going to get that kind of thing. All right. So we're going to need that, and we're also going to need to connect color to color. But we're going to need this thing, layer weight. So I'm just going to drag that to there, and this one is going to go to there. All right. So we need this layer weight thing, and that is under Input, Layer Weight. I'm going to bring it here, and it's the facing part is going to go into not there, into color 1. Okay. And then the blend, it goes from 0 to 1. I'm going to go 0.8. Try 0.8. All right, let's see if we got everything connected right to the FAC. Oh no, it's not to color 1, it is to FAC. Huh. All right, FAC. Yeah, we want those colors. We need both of those colors. And then like that. So if I go Control down arrow, and I go Alt H, and I bring back that, and I call this red liquid instead of just red. Let's have a look at that and see if we have something. All right. Now again, it's not exactly realistic. First of all, I didn't model this so that the liquid goes concave down like liquids would normally. All right, we're just doing this. Okay, cool. Now, here's the neat thing. We can select that vial, H to hide it, select this stuff, and switch over and just choose red liquid again. And then, so we don't have to do it again, I can just hit this, and then pull that out, this plus to make a copy of it, and I can now call this whatever. What do I want? I'll call it blue liquid. I'll make it blue. All right, and then over here, all I got to do is go to a nice light blue for the top and a dark blue for the bottom, and you can already see it updating, and you can decide if you want it differently, that kind of thing. Let's say we try that, Alt H. Okay, now you can see that if I change this, if I make it say 0.1, okay, it's a lot lighter. 0.9, it's a lot darker. So whatever you like, 0.7 maybe. Okay, let's grab this those lines there and grab them and pull them over to the side to close that up. And this is what we have so far. Now I've only got that one light in there, and it's not great lighting, but you can already start to see this looking nice. All right. one of the strangest Erlenmeyer flasks I've ever modeled, though, this thing here. Apollo spaceship. What we could do is, I mean, you could bump map this wood. You could do a better job of that. You could change the size. It's a little, I don't know. Or we could do it like that. Wait, we're having drinks on a tropical island. All right. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to leave it like that. It looks a little bit like a picnic table. And I'm going to render the scene just like that. And then I'll come back and I'll show it to you. Actually, before I do render the thing itself, I should point out a couple of things that I'm going to need to do to render this. Glass can be very difficult to render, and what I have found through various suggestions is a few things for setting the render up that could be helpful. What I'm going to do here is, first of all, I'm going to change my size. I'm going to make a 80%. I don't need a huge image. That's fine. And I'm going to switch this over to 16 for the color depth and lower the compression. Not sure that's going to help that much, but down here under, first of all, sampling, of course. We're going to want to change this samples to something decent, so I'll go 400 for now. All right. But here, clamp direct, clamp indirect, you can read about how they affect the amount of light coming through. I'm going to switch this to, some people go like 9 or 8. I'm just going to go 3. And I know the lower numbers actually clamp it more than the higher numbers, but I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try 1 here. I think you're supposed to avoid clamp direct as much as possible, or unless you really know what you're doing. I'm not going to change anything here. Filter glossy, you can, you know, I don't know. I'm going to try without having to do that. One thing I will do is really, I may not have enough lighting, but I'm going to select this light and come over here and make sure that I have multiple importance on there. And you know, I'll give it a try and I'll see. Oh, I don't have a camera. Well, let's set up a camera, huh? It'll be hard to render without a camera. All right, I'm just gonna make this. Or is it 0? Oh yeah, another thing I like to do is change this to. I'm gonna go with 50 for the lens, and we'll lock camera to view, and I'll hit the 0 on the numpad. And we'll start lining this up. I'll hit the home button to make it larger. I still want to see though that, like we're on a beach there. Let's see, is that coming through still? Does it still look like we're on the beach? Yeah. And there's your drinks. All right, like I'm gonna render from there kind of thing. All right. Again, an image I found on the internet and another image, and this is not necessarily a good edge or anything, but you know, you can just shoot straight down if you want to. All right, so I did that. There are some other things that you can do, but I'll leave it like that. So I'll go ahead and render it, and we'll see how it looks. All right, that only took a couple of minutes to do, and this is my final result. And I think it looks pretty nice. There's a little bit of speckling, fireflies. I don't know if you call them that at this point. But you know, it's a pleasing review. Again, view. It doesn't look extremely realistic. It looks almost like a 3D science fiction image, and that's exactly what I would hope for. That's what I want. All right, so I hope that helped and was interesting. Thank you for watching.